but if you're just getting to it now, still, that's fine. But take time and think through, what does you want your year to look like? What do you want your family life to look like? Your professional life? Like, do you want to bring in some hobbies? How do you want to spend your time? Do you want to travel? It's important to be intentional about it, right?
Yeah. Things don't happen by accident.
Yeah.
They won't. I mean, you have to have a plan to succeed. I mean, that's, again, seems pretty cliche, but it's how things work. You have to have a plan, or you'll have a plan to fail.
Yes. You either plan or you plan to fail.
Yeah.
And this is the thing too with travel, especially if you wanted to try to take a bigger trip, it does take some planning. It takes getting it on your calendar. It takes knowing where you want to go. And if you are wanting to plan a big trip, one of the things too is expense, right? And so you want to start thinking about it now if you need to start saving or whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of options for expense. Like there's certain cruises and tours and things that allow you to like pay for that over time. So that's definitely a route to go. And you got to start planning for that. But if you wanted to do it yourself, we have a lot we're going to talk a little bit about that today, right? Because that's how we've approached our trips. It's not for everybody, but it's the surefire way to get exactly the trip that you want.
Yeah. And this is easy for me to say because I don't really do any of the planning you do. I just show up, but it works for us.
I love it. So there's never any like resentment on my side. Like, and I like to be in control. I like to know, like, I like to be the one making those decisions. So that really makes us great travel partners.
Yeah. Because I don't mind. I'm here for, you always do a good job of curating it anyway. It always works out well. And I'm happy to that's not my specialty and not something I love. So
let's say a little bit about that, because you can have some really, really good friends that you probably shouldn't travel with.
Right.
Because
that's okay. It doesn't make them bad friends.
Totally fine. But knowing that could actually could maybe circumvent you ruining the friendship, because if you don't know that and you have this expectation and you get on the trip, that can be when,
things
tempers
can go awry
and things can happen. But yeah, like here's some things to monitor. If your friends hold a totally different schedule, like if you're morning bird, early morning riser, and they like are late night people, it's probably not going to work, guys.
Yeah.
As much as you like them.
Agreed.
And then also think about economics. So, I think that there can be accommodations made to spend that time together, especially if you're traveling with family, but everybody has a different financial tolerance for what they can spend on, travel, and just make sure that is congruent and lines up, because otherwise you're going to get in a situation where one side's gonna be like, oh, it's not good enough for that.
Right.
And then the other side is like, oh, like, I wish we could stay in places we like, So,
and also, I mean, to a certain extent, like personality too, like it's just when you travel with someone, it's a lot of together time. So you might love hanging out with a person for an afternoon or an evening or whatever, but 7 days together, no, thank you. I mean, it's true. And
we talk about that 5-minute friends, 3-minute friends, 3-hour friends, 3-day friends, and 3-week friends. These are your layers of your friendships, and you have to mature into the extended period of time.
Right. Yeah. So be careful if you're traveling with another family or friends. I actually wrote a blog post in the summer about traveling with adult kids. And that was one of the things that I touched on, is like, it's been great for us to travel with our kids because they've got each other. We've been doing it for years, but you might not want to plan the big 7-day, 10-day, even 14-day trip with another family until you've tried it for a weekend, maybe first, because sometimes you don't know till you know.
Yep. And then that's a good point too, trying to match the children. So it doesn't always work that way, right? We're fortunate and we're pretty flexible. Yeah. But you have the 3 boys, we have 1 girl. So, I mean, ideally we would have a boy to throw in there, but you could have a best girlfriend and she could have little kids and your kids are grown. So just maybe that's a girls trip situation where you maybe don't take the kids on a 3-week trip, because it's not going to be as fun for everybody as it is for you.
No. And it depends. Everyone's different. I had friends 2 ladies that are really good friends, and they did a trip together, and the one girl's kids were older, not as old as my kids, but older. And the other one had littles, and it actually worked out great because the older kids loved the little kids. They played together. She had like a little mother's helper with the little one. So it just depends.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that you should probably do like a day trip or a weekend before you go if you're planning like family trip with somebody else.
Just think about it before going into it, heading in. Absolutely. Head on. Yeah, so that's worth a conversation.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with, I mean, you can travel with another family. We love to do that and share experiences, but you might just want to travel with your own family, which is great too.
It's true. So we talked about, matching up your economics, your finances, matching up your family ages or family, the interests, I guess.
Yes.
And then the first one is, what was the first one I mentioned? Night and day, like early morning versus like your cycle, your rhythms.
Yep.
Another one to mention would just be like risk tolerance. So when you travel, some people have this really like, like you see these people, these are the people doing the TikToks and they're out on the hikes and they're on the edges of the, climbing. They want to do exciting adrenaline inducing things, or maybe for you, it's something as simple as they want to ride roller coasters and you just have no interest in that.
Yeah.
Risk tolerance is another one, because again, it comes down to you won't share the same interests and then you'll be holding them back, and vice versa.
Right. And activity level, you could add to that too. Some people want to be on the go touring every, chance they get, and others want to more relax. And if you don't match up there.
Yep.
Yeah. And I would say have an idea even for yourself of what you want out of your trip as you start to plan. And even if it's just your family, talk to your family and your kids about that too. Right? Like, what do you see? Where do you want that trip going? We have always, and once again, hop on our blog, but we start planning the travel early on. Yeah. Usually we do a trip in the summer together every year. We've been doing it since the kids were little, but usually when that trip's over, we're picking the next trip. And then as we start to head into the new year, we're really starting to talk, and we get on phone calls to just make sure everything is matching up. And we talk to the kids about what activities they want to do. And we just make it a group effort, which is really nice to involve the kids in it too.
It really is. So in these next couple of trips, the kids are picking the location because it happens to be the graduating senior gets to pick where we're going. So they're in charge of that, in control of that.
Yep.
Which feels good to them. And then assign somebody who is an executor, who, likes that, who wants to take that on. Doesn't have to be in charge of everything, but who can maybe delegate, right? Mm-hmm. So I happen to like to just do it all. But in the case where it's like, I don't want to take all that on, and I don't want to be responsible for that because it is risky. What you could do is you put one person in charge, hop on a call, include the kids, and say, what do you guys, I love that. What do you guys want out of this vacation? Mm-hmm. We'll talk, for instance, when we went to Iceland, the boys were not excited about it. In fact, nobody was really excited about it.
I was excited about it.
I was excited about it.
We were excited about it. Not might have stopped there. It was going to be
amazing. Yes. And everybody was a little bit like, but we were smart enough to know that, okay, because they weren't super excited about the location, let's build in some ATV riding. These are boys. They wanted to do some rugged adventure type things. We also, what else did we do?
Oh my gosh, that trip was amazing.
We went to the Black Beach, we did some mini hikes kind of thing.
We went to the Golden Loop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hiked some of that, walking in the
basically parks. Involving the kids in things that they would like, so that it was a win-win. And it turned out to probably, it's so hard to pick. It's like picking your
my gosh, all the trips. We're going to break each place down because you might have an interest in going to them.
Yeah.
And there's a point with the Iceland trip, and you said this to me, like, I'm so glad we traveled here with you, because I would have never done this ATV on my own. I didn't want to do this. I picked it for the boys, and I'm actually loving it. So sometimes it's good to be pushed out of your comfort zone a little bit when you travel, right?
Totally. Yeah. We were in this really cool valley with all these wild sheep and like just greenery everywhere, fresh running water. We're in this like river with these ATVs, and
it was so unbelievable.
And, it was a memory I think we'll all have forever. But it started with just like, okay, well, we're going here. What can we do to make this fun for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the planning that we put into it. All right. So